Joining me now, our good friend, Reverend Al Sharpton, host of Politics Nation here on MSNBC, and of course, founder of the National Action Network. Hello, Rev. You met, I'm told, with Governor Kathy Hochul, offered some counsels. Tell me what you told her before she made this decision.
Well, I met with her one-on-one, and then she met with some of the elected officials together and some faith leaders. Mm-hmm. And in our one-on-one, I said to her that I think that she should wait on the judge's decision, because when we met, it was before the judge decided, and see what the judge says. The reason I said that is because, according to the New York Charter, the governor has the power to remove a mayor if you're involved with a crime or disabled. And if the judge was going to remove the crime and delay the trial, there was no crime for her to move him with.
Correct.
So why would you preemptively make a move that could be turned around the next day or so? I think we met before the day the judge would make his decision. And I think she putting the guardrails on.
What are the guardrails?
She's putting in, would be an inspector general. She would be, certain things would have to be cleared by, or at least reviewed by outside people. I don't know the exact terms they use.
Yeah, it hasn't been too specific yet.
Right, but I think that the reason for that is a lot of people, including me, was concerned about how these charges were removed. The Justice Department went in and said they wanted to remove the charges without prejudice, and therefore they had the right to come back later and try him. Well, many of us felt that was the Trump administration putting a leash on the mayor and, for that matter, the people in the city of New York, because you're not saying it's over. They distinctly say in their decision, we're not saying he's innocent or guilty. We're saying that he was indicted too close to the campaign for the primary for mayor. Well, he was indicted 9 months ago. People in Congress run every 2 years. They're campaigning 9 months out, so that didn't make sense. Then they said that he would not be available if he goes to trial to help the president with immigration and violent crime. Well, that's policy issues. That's not legal issues. And the last one, they had said that they were concerned about whether it was a political vendetta. So you need to establish, well, what was the political vendetta? Some have said that they felt that Biden administration went after him because of his stand on immigration was closer to President Trump. But the fact is that the investigation now we've seen in reports has started before Biden was president. And there have been others that have gone against it. So none of what their reasoning made sense. And the thing that had left the people, a lot of people in New York, including me, saying is, why would you have these kind of positions and not bring him, either pardon him, where we wouldn't even be in court, like you did hundreds of people that broke the law on camera on January 6th, or let the trial go forward. Now, I'm not endorsing a pardon. I'm saying that is not how Donald Trump dealt with everybody else. If they really felt this was a political vendetta, then why didn't he pardon him and say he was a victim of a political vendetta?
Well,
but the only reason, the only cause for concern was to have this where we've got you now where we can try you later, and that is against the interests of the people of the city of New York.
Thus the phrase quid pro quo. This is what you keep hearing left and right. Now there's a twist, because Mayor Adams has sued the Trump administration now to try to get back these $80 million that had been in the coffers for New York City. Apparently it disappeared overnight. This was money that was funded by the Biden administration for helping to house migrants in different hotels in the city and other places. And he's saying, no, I mean, you guys clawed this back. And so now he's using this to say, look, I'm standing up to the Trump administration. Is that how it's being interpreted? Is that how you interpret it?
I think that some are interpreting it that way, because you must remember the money was already approved, headed down into the account. They snatched it back. And you're right, the money had been approved under the Biden administration. So some are saying that the mayor is right to sue, but it still does not explain why the president would put him in a position where he'd have to operate with this cloud over his head. And if you really are convinced that this was political, he would have done that. And you wouldn't say we're not saying he's guilty or not guilty. We're saying we're going to move on. So I don't think the concern from most people I'm talking to, and I have rallies in Harlem every Saturday morning, I just left, the concern here is not on the mayor or the judge or anyone other than what is President Trump doing here. This is not something we've seen him do to anybody that were Proud Boys and everybody else. He pardoned them. We had people in jail he pardoned.
Yeah.
And here you have
For
the
violent
mayor
crimes.
of the city of New York, largest city in the country, and you're going to just put him on where you can yank the chain. It really is offensive to many of us.
Okay. Reverend Al Sharpton, always good to have you. You can stick around if you want.
No.
I've got another 25 minutes on this.
I'll
Do you want
get
to
ready
co-anchor?
for mine.
Yeah, you got ready. Okay. Well, and for all of you, you can catch much more of The Rev. It's on Politics Nation just about an hour from now at 5 p.m. Eastern.